Emily had always adored old dolls. Her bedroom shelves were a museum of silent smiles and glassy eyes, each porcelain face a frozen moment in time. So, when a package arrived from her aunt containing an antique doll from an estate sale, Emily was absolutely thrilled. The doll was breathtaking, almost unnervingly so. Her skin was a flawless pale ivory, her blue eyes glistened with an unsettling depth, and her dark curly hair felt shockingly real to the touch. She wore a faded red dress, intricately stitched with delicate lace, and on her feet were tiny shoes that clicked faintly whenever they were moved. A small handwritten note was tucked inside the box. This doll belonged to a little girl named Annette. Take good care of her. Emily smiled, placing the doll on her dresser where it could watch over the room. Welcome to the family, Annette, she whispered. That night a storm rolled in, and the wind howled like a hungry wolf, rattling the window panes. Emily was lying in bed, the blue light of her phone illuminating her face, when a strange sound cut through the noise of the wind. A faint tapping. Tap, tap, tap. She froze, her thumb hovering over the screen. The sound seemed to be coming from her dresser. She slowly turned her head. The doll was exactly where she'd left it, sitting perfectly still, its reflection staring back from the mirror. It's just the wind, Emily muttered, trying to reassure herself. She turned off her lamp and closed her eyes, but the soft, rhythmic tapping continued, a tiny, persistent beat in the darkness. The next morning, Emily woke with a strange feeling of unease. Her eyes scanned the room and stopped on her desk. The doll, Annette, was sitting there, not on the dresser where she had placed it. Emily frowned, a knot of confusion tightening in her stomach. I must have moved it last night, she reasoned, though she had no memory of doing so. As she picked it up, a chill ran up her arm. The doll felt colder than she remembered, its porcelain skin like ice, and its eyes. Those little glass eyes seemed to follow her every move, unblinking and intense. Suddenly, her cat, Luna, let out a sharp hiss from the doorway, her fur standing on end. She backed away from the doll, her body low to the ground. Luna, stop it, Emily scolded, but the cat was already gone, a flash of grey fur disappearing down the hall. That was the first real sign that something was terribly wrong. That evening, Emily couldn't shake the unnerving sensation of being watched. Every creak of the old house made her jump. She decided to leave a small lamp on its warm glow, a flimsy shield against the growing darkness in her mind. She drifted into a restless sleep, but somewhere around midnight, she was jolted awake by that same sound, the soft tapping. She sat bolt upright in bed, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Hello," she called out, her voice barely a whisper. There was no answer, only the faint, groaning creak of old wood. Her eyes darted round the dimly lit room, searching for the source of the noise and then they stopped, and her blood ran cold. The doll was no longer on her desk. It was sitting on the floor in the middle of the room, significantly closer to her bed. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "No," she whispered to the empty room. "I didn't move you." Trembling, she forced herself out of bed, her feet cold against the floorboards. She snatched the doll up, its coldness seeping into her skin, and marched to her closet. She threw it inside and slammed the door shut. "Stay there," she ordered, her voice a strange mix of a joke and a plea. She got back into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. For a few minutes there was silence, and then, creak, the closet door began to swing open, slowly, deliberately. Emily was frozen, her eyes wide with terror. In the dark rectangle of the doorway, the doll was standing upright, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. One of its glass eyes caught the dim light from the lamp, glinting like a shard of ice. A scream tore from Emily's throat as she scrambled for her phone, her fingers fumbling with the flashlight function. When the bright white beam finally cut through the darkness and landed on the doll, it was lying in a heap on the floor again, as if it had simply fallen over, as if it had never been standing at all. Her heart racing, she picked it up, shoved it into an empty shoebox, and frantically sealed it shut with packing tape. There was no sleep for her that night. By morning, Emily's fear had hardened into a single, unshakable resolve. The doll had to go. She drove to a nearby lake, the taped-up box sitting silently on the passenger seat. At the water's edge, she didn't hesitate. She threw the box as far as she could, watching with grim satisfaction as it hit the water with a splash and quickly sank beneath the rippling surface. "Good riddance," she muttered, a wave of relief washing over her. For the first time in days, she felt a sense of peace. That night, exhausted from the ordeal, she fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. But sometime after midnight, a new sound woke her. Drip, 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 the sound of water. Confused, she looked toward her window, trying to place the sound. And what she saw made her heart stop. There, perched on her windowsill, sat the doll. It was soaked and caked in mud, its red dress clinging to its porcelain frame. A dark puddle of water was forming beneath its tiny shoes. Emily's relief shattered into a million pieces of pure terror. She let out a guttural scream, a sound of pure panic, and in a surge of adrenaline, she grabbed the doll and hurled it across the room. It hit the wall with a sickening thud. She expected it to shatter, to break into 100 pieces. But when she flicked on the main light, her breath hitched. The doll wasn't broken. It was sitting upright against the wall, its head tilted, and its painted lips, which had always been a neutral line, were now curved into a faint but undeniable smile. Emily backed away, stumbling toward the door, fumbling for her phone. Her hands were shaking so violently she could barely dial. Finally, she managed to call her aunt. When Clara answered, her voice sleepy, Emily's words tumbled out in a panicked rush. "Aunt Clara, where did you get that doll? Something's wrong with it. It's evil." There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. Then, her aunt's voice came back, quiet and confused. "Emily, what are you talking about? I never sent you a doll." The phone slipped from Emily's numb fingers and clattered to the floor. She slowly looked up from the device, her eyes drawn back to the spot where the doll had been sitting. But it was gone. The next morning, a neighbor called the police after hearing screams from Emily's house the night before. When they arrived, they found the front door unlocked. The house was quiet. Her bed was empty, the sheets in disarray. All they found inside was a small, muddy puddle of water on the floor, and a single porcelain doll sitting neatly on the pillow, its red dress now perfectly clean and dry. And on the dresser mirror, scrawled in crimson lipstick, were two simple words: playtime.